What it mean to be the best? Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing balls, bend the corner, set my mind up on a goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the goal. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now there ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now there ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
Welcome in. Welcome to Tell the Truth, episode 89, in which we kind of almost sort of really don't, but maybe according to the official NFL site that somewhere has it in the NFL league office, have a 53-man Chiefs roster. Of course, Brett Reach is going to make this drag out as long as possible as he continues to work the phones, figure out where exactly he wants to go to try and be able to supplement this roster. We're Tell the Truth. Yours truly, DMac. We got DG. We got CJ in the house, man. Preseason is in the books. We got to cut down day, and now all that's left is getting ready for
y'all in here today. Y'all ready for this cut down day? Y'all know the numbers going up right now.
Chat going crazy.
Right?
Y'all just hear that Travis Taylor. I know what y'all want to talk about.
Yeah,
I know what y'all want to talk about.
So
I know what they want to talk about. No, but
I do think it is very funny, and I was going through something earlier today and happened to stumble across this. I actually did want to play this clip for you guys because I think it's actually kind of funny. If you guys want to listen,
that's Tracer. Appreciate you guys for joining me on this new show, man. So yeah, let's kick it off. So of course, everybody knows we started off here with a blowout. A game that was more intriguing for who was in the stands than what was actually happening on the field. Yes, we have a bunch of new people hopping on the bandwagon, to say the least, here trying to learn about football, and that's always funny. But yes,
friendship bracelets.
Look, the team that listens to Taylor Swift stays together and wins together, so you know how it goes.
Yes, it was actually 89 episodes ago. The first episode of Tell the Truth was, in fact, on that Chicago Bears blowout game in which Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce as a couple were introduced to the world on that Fox game in which the Chiefs absolutely destroyed the Bears. It seems so long ago, doesn't it? You know how much fun the offense was back then.
Justin Fields was on that team by that point.
Justin Fields was on the team. That's
how far along it was.
Yeah. That's how far back it was. Yeah, that is funny to think about a little bit. That was the first episode of Tell the Truth, and now we're 89 episodes in, and of course Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce completely overshadowed anything happening in the world today with their engagement announcement. That being said, so that was a little bit of tie-in that I wanted to get out of the way early on, but we will talk a little bit about football. Some interesting things that actually came out about Nate Taylor's article about Travis Kelce that we'll get back into a little bit later on. I do think it's worth digging into. But we do have news that have happened since the last time that we talked to you guys. Derrick Nnadi. Derrick Nnadi has returned to Kansas City, got traded back from the Jets in a pick swap. A pick swap ultimately that followed what the Sky Moore trade away ended up to the Niners. So the Chiefs move up a few slots in the 7th round from their spot to the Jet spot, essentially, to trade out Sky Moore and Derrick Nnadi, due to the fact that we had talked about there is some thin nature as far as the interior defensive line for this roster was concerned, and it makes a lot of sense from that aspect too. How do you guys feel about Derrick Nnadi being back in the kingdom?
I love it, baby. Trench depth. We needed that. Anything that's for emergency stop. You feel me? But no, anytime you get to bring back a player that knows your playbook, knows your system, knows the culture, everybody loves him from the coaching staff down to the players, is always a good move. He's obviously been a guy that's been here for the majority of our Super Bowl run, so you don't really have to teach him much. Obviously, he was in New York, tried to make the roster with the Jets, didn't work out. Now we get him back here in Kansas City. Anytime you have more depth and more options, like we always say, you can never have enough rushers. You can never have enough D linemen. So anybody that can help make this team better, from Mike Pennell, Derrick Nnadi, to Omar, to Tillery, is all good for the group. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think as soon as we kind of seen that he was going to be getting released from the Jets, that he was going to probably end up back in KC anyway, especially for depth purposes at this point in time. Doesn't give you much that you would desire from the pass rushing perspective, but you never really asked him to do those kind of things. You ask him more to be a run stuffer. So I think that having him and Mike Pennell back together again, and knowing now that Mike Pennell won't have to be almost in on every rush, and you can rotate those guys around. Gives me a little bitter sense of feeling going into the season now knowing that you can take Mike Pennell off the field, or you can take Derrick Nnadi off the field and swap them out. So I think it's a good move. I think ultimately you just wanted to have that depth at that position. So you can't I think you can't never have too many defensive linemen, in my opinion. And I'm glad he's back, and obviously the dogs of KC Pet Project are definitely glad he's back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, for Mike Pennell to be at this advanced stage, it would have been tough to have him on essentially every single early down run snap. And it's really untenable indeed. And, Jared Tillery was also untenable to have him out there. And again, I'll talk about this in a little bit, but hopefully this allows Omar Norman-Lott to not have to be forced into being Derrick Nnadi, which he isn't, and he wasn't at Tennessee. So Derrick Nnadi being able to add that run stuffing element next to Chris Jones has always been a role that he's played well. I know that PFF stats will tell you that I guess he was god awful last year. I just didn't feel that way. I thought that he was effective in the very limited role that we need him to be. So that's just some people love those stats, man. So I think that or I should say the grades. I'll be very specific. The grades, people love the
PFF.
But I think that Derrick Nnadi coming back to this roster makes a lot of sense. And really, after the Seattle Seahawks preseason game, we were like, yo, this team needs some interior defensive line depth. There was always really a question mark as far as being able to add to this roster regardless. It was always a glaring hole on paper, but certainly was very clear after that Seattle preseason game. And so now we kind of shift to see what is happening along the other parts of the roster. There are some rumors of things. We'll get to some things that have kind of been a little bit more confirmed. Jalen Royals did miss practice today, as did Omar Norman-Lott as well. Seems like it's a little bit less serious for Omar Norman-Lott, trying to come back from kind of what's an ankle issue that he's been battling. Jalen Royals been dealing with the knee. That sounds like it may be a little bit more serious. There's a lot of chatter about maybe him going to short-term IR. We don't know about that yet. And again, this 53-man roster remains in a lot of flux as far as that is concerned. One thing that I did want to ask you guys, as it currently stands, obviously we expect these 7 wide receivers to be on the roster. And it was reported that Tyquan Thornton did, in fact, make the 53-man roster as well, which shouldn't be really any surprise. As of right now, if you're picking a wide receiver to be inactive, I think that it pretty much has to be Jalen Royals, given the fact that you expect Nico Remigio to have that return aspect of it. And Tyquan Thornton obviously has been given I won't say sizable or significant, but a useful role within the real, Kansas City Chiefs offense and what they expect to look like. So how do you guys feel about, where Jalen Royals is at as we kind of have closed up shop as far as camp or now a week out? And we can change out from the Chiefs opening up the season in Brazil.
No, I'm with it. I think we all knew coming into the season when you bring back guys like Juju.
Oh, we ain't bringing you back. That's for sure.
CJ keeps dropping out. DJ, how do you feel?
Nah, man.
There he is.
My
bad. Go ahead.
No, I think when you bring back guys like Juju and you bring back Hollywood, that kind of lets you know. Obviously, we weren't expecting much from Jalen this year, given the fact that we have so many veterans in front of him. Honestly, out of all the rookie receivers we've had out of the last 3 years, Zay, Rasheed, and obviously, unfortunately, Sky Moore, then you want to add Jalen Rose to that list. He's in the best situation of the 4 because he has miles ahead of experience in front of him, of guys that can play. Like DMac just said, there's going to be moments in the season where he's going to be inactive just because this team doesn't really need him. When you bring in guys like Tyquan Thornton and Juju and Hollywood for a veteran presence, and we know the top 2 dogs in this room are obviously Rasheed and Zay, and they're going to lead the attack for us. So when you have that much talent in front of him, there's no need for Jalen to have to play right away. Obviously, you want to see him get his reps and try to, have some growing pains and grow through that because he's going to have to play a lot for us in years to come. But I think this year is good for him to learn from everybody. And he can just go out there and just do his job and just be a rookie and just learn and not have to worry about being an impact player and not have to rush the playbook. Because we know out of all the position groups for a rookie to play, outside of quarterback, obviously, receiver is probably one of the hardest ones to learn under Andy Reid, given the complex of this playbook and the play call. So I'm happy for Jalen. He doesn't have to rush anything. I know he's going to be a great player. I see the attributes. I see the size of him and the way he physically, the way he attacks the ball. I just want him to just learn and be patient. So I love Jalen not being active. I think that's great for him and his development for the future. So obviously, he's going to play more later in the season than early, but I think it's good for all the situation he's in overall.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want him to get the reps just because the live reps are obviously more helpful than him sitting on the sidelines and and watching. But there's nothing wrong with him sitting over there and watching and absorbing a lot from these other veterans. And I think that's like CJ said, that's a good place to be in when you got a locker room full of veterans who've been in Andy's system before, who knows how to run this system, what Andy likes, what he doesn't like. So for him to be able to sit back and absorb from them guys, I think is a good spot for him. And I think as we progress later on to the year, it'll probably help him even more at this point. So, I wish he was out there, because obviously he showed some flashes in preseason of what he could be able to do. But I think at the same time, him sitting back and being able to take something from some of these veterans and getting those mental reps in his head will definitely help him as he progresses towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that there are many opportunities for Jalen Rose to be able to continue to get better, even while just during practice and just like you talked about, watching those mental reps in that aspect. I don't think that he needs to be thrust into a situation to play right away. And I think there were some aspects of when they tried to ask some other guys to play right away that it didn't necessarily go well. So taking it slow, understanding what role we need to put him in to begin is probably the right way to go as far as he is concerned. So whether it's short-term IR to begin the year, and he comes back ultimately with G Rice, you expect us to switch it to happen, or whether it's a certain situation where he needs to be inactive to begin the year, I'm going to be okay either way, particularly because this wide receiver core actually has a real talent. If this was last year's or 2023's, then you're a little bit talking about, hey, do we really feel great about it? But we're in a much better situation. Again, hopefully that includes a healthy Hollywood Brown as well that we continue to watch. He did end up practicing today, which would be interesting as well. Along those lines, kind of talking about some of the injury question marks, there are also the rumors floating around about Nnadi Johnson possibly going on short-term IR to open up another spot, and this will fold into to kind of talk about some of the guys that end up getting cut. One of the early ones today was, of course, Mike Edwards, a veteran that we thought was kind of on the roster bubble. Did not necessarily show well during preseason. Thought that he was a lot slower than the last time that we had seen him really in game action. And obviously he did get cut last year from a team and then moved on to a different team and ultimately was a free agent. So Mike, moving on, the safety room, the depth at corner in general, I think Brett Veach is ultimately going to be sniffing around, somebody to add to the DB room, especially a corner, if he really feels great about it, because it seems like they feel good about Christian Roland-Wallace moving over into more of a fourth safety role, and then also the special teams aspect of it. And then obviously Hicks, Cook, and Connor kind of have the top three safety rotation locked down for now. So how do you guys feel about the DB room as a whole? Obviously, we saw Fulton play a lot of snaps in that third preseason game to try and get his win back under him. We saw some good things from Mo Williams this preseason. How are you guys sitting right now with the DB aspect of this roster?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was kind of distraught that Mike Edwards didn't pan out, just based off of what he was able to kind of bring you in that 2023 season, being the kind of the turnover machine that he was able to provide for this defense. But obviously 2 years later, might be 2 years too late at this point in time. So we'd love to have him here, but when you don't flash much or show much to them in the preseason, I guess that's obviously what possibly happened to them. So that's why he's probably not here at this point. But the DB room, I feel slightly confident in. I would say there is some concern there at certain points in times, just as with CB2. Jalen Watson coming back from his injury, Christian Fulton being kind of thrusted into that starting role and not having a significant amount of snaps during training camp or preseason. Kind of just puts a little bit of concern in I would say into some fans at this point, just based off of how we know how complex Steve Spagnuolo's defense can be. So I mean, obviously, that Trent McDuffie is obviously going to be himself and do what he's capable of doing, and I think Jaden Hicks, in my opinion, is going to have a breakout year in this defense. But there are some positions in this group that kind of raise cause for concern. I am glad to see Shamari Connor kind of return to being a primary safety at this point and not being slotted to be in that nickel position, which I kind of think he struggled in last year. So hopefully that changes a lot this year, and hopefully Spags comes to his senses and realizes that he's more of a safety than he is a nickel corner. So. But yeah, I think there's a lot of versatility, especially in that safety room. Christian Roland Wallace provides some of that. Shamari Connor, Jaden Hicks, Brian Cook. So I think they'll be fine. I wouldn't expect spectacular things from them, especially early on in the season. But I think as later on in the season goes and that chemistry starts to develop, things will kind of get better for them.
I think we'll certainly see, in something that I talked about before we got to camp, like, we need Shamari Connor in the safety room, just point blank period. That needs to happen. And I think we'll certainly see that. And again, more Connor in the nickel occasionally is okay. I'm not going to say like I'm freaking out about that. But one of the things that I was really happy to see, and I'll see, I may not be able to pull this up. I'm hoping I can pull this up if I can. Yes, I can. Thank goodness. I didn't know if it was going to pop out on me, but we ended up getting a little bit of look with, Cook and Connor in a traditional safety set. And they end up rotating to a cover run wobber look with man underneath. And it's Hicks down in the box, ultimately covering Colston Loveland during that preseason game versus the Bears over the weekend. And he was able to run with them effectively. And again, I think that Hicks is a little bit better equipped to be able to stay with some of these tight ends from an athletic standpoint. Than maybe a Connor is comfortable doing so, and certainly a Brian Cook from that aspect. And again, Cook and Connor have a little bit better of their understanding spatially, I think, to play those deep half safeties than you would maybe expect from Jaden Hicks, who's still trying to adjust from that standpoint. So I think that these are the three safety rotations that you're going to continue to see. There's a lot of versatility on that back end still to get the job done. But I hope that, again, Spags emphasizes that these three guys are safeties and not primary nickel corners. But that does still rely upon, obviously, them having the outside corner depth to allow McDuffie to play inside on a consistent basis. CJ, I know I cut you off, but go ahead and talk about how you feel about the DB versatility right now.
No, I love it. I think just having more athleticism back there, a guy like Jaden is a major upgrade from an athletic standpoint compared to Justin, who we had the last 2 years. Having obviously like Shamari and Brian, who are more used to playing deep safety, I think, like you said, that's a great position for Jaden because now we're not forcing him to play deep safety. He can more so be in the box and use that aggressiveness, use that athleticism. I think he'll be better for matchups like running backs or tight end. So, no, I love the overall use. And then obviously we can use Christian Roland Wallace in the nickel spot if need be. I think he's an underrated guy as well. But overall, I think the safety room is in a good spot. I think this is a good thing. It shows the growth of Jaden Hicks that obviously, like DG said, would love to have Mike Bath. He's played a lot of big moments for us. He's been a veteran. He has 2 rings for a reason. But I would love to – I think this shows good that Jaden is progressing in the right direction and that Brian Cook and Shamari are in a good place to where Spags is okay with letting a guy go because he truly believes in his big three, and those guys are going to carry us for a bulk of the season for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, where guys like Christian Roland Wallace end up finding snaps, you obviously expect that there'll be special teams to say the least. Nnadi Johnson and that of the sorts. But again, I don't think Brett Veach is maybe done looking at the DB room. He obviously maybe sniffing around corners. And there were a few ones that are kind of interesting that got let go. I know we talked about Zal Alexander on the 53-man roster show. We may have mentioned it, or maybe it was just us in the group chat. I can't remember. It's been a blur these last few days. Also, Juju Brents got a release from the Colts, who is another guy to certainly take a look at. But we'll talk about some of the guys that got released around the league in a little bit as well. One guy I did want to mention before we move on, or I guess 2 guys really. CJ Hansen, Chiefs 2023 7th-round pick, ended up getting cut today. Again, waived. I would expect him to come back on the practice squad. I don't think you have to necessarily worry about anything from that aspect. He was always more of a developmental interior offensive line guy. I think he's going to be a guy where you come back his 3rd year and say, hey, have you improved enough to force a guy like Mike Kelly-Indor off the roster? And so we'll kind of see. And he does provide useful depth, in my opinion. And I thought he wasn't a disaster I thought he was questionable, but I don't think he was a disaster in that Week 18 game versus the Broncos. So we'll see as we continue to move on. I thought he was fine during the preseason. It didn't strike me as a lost cause out there. One guy that did upset me that he did end up getting cut, though, Esapole out of Washington State, a guy that I talked about a lot on Twitter and on here that I really enjoyed watching during the preseason. I thought that he was, in my personal opinion, the fourth best tackle on this roster. I know Wanya Morris has proven to be, a replacement level starter would be the way I'd put it, I guess, in the National Football League at times for this team, especially when healthy specifically. And I understand why he's still on the roster. It's just, I hope and I pray that Esapole makes it through waivers. I know he's not going to, but I pray that he does because I do really feel like he has a chance to develop into a starting tackle in the National Football League. And at the very least, a very good swing tackle that could be useful on the roster. So we'll see how that ends up progressing. And obviously we'll keep an eye on him and a few other guys like Carson Steele, Bailey Zappi, Marlon Tuilopu, who I also expect to be back on the practice squad. And see if any of these guys end up coming back as well. We haven't necessarily heard about guys like Brownlee or Elijah Badger. Did we hear about Jack Cochran? Did he get released? I know one of Christensen got released. I think it was Christensen that ultimately.
Yeah, it was Cole Christensen. Yeah,
I don't think Cochran got released.
I don't think it was Jack.
Yeah. So Christensen ended up getting released. Now we're going to get into the 53-man roster right here. There have been some rumors about what this roster looks like. Again, it's still all over the place because it hasn't been confirmed. And you obviously can see there's a lot of highlights on here for a good reason. Cooper McDonald, want to start there. Undrafted free agent, a guy that we all agreed looked like the fifth best linebacker on this team, much better than both Christensen and Cochran from that standpoint. Well-earned spot on the 53-man roster. I'm glad that he ended up getting retained here. Shout out to Cooper McDonald. It's interesting to see. Apparently, there's a chance maybe that we ended up keeping 7 linebackers as well. A guy, in my personal opinion, that I didn't think played all that well during this preseason, Brendan George, might have made it. We'll see. There's a rumor out there. Again, a lot of these things are up in the air until we end up seeing what that official roster look like. And again, they are down to 53 men as far as the roster is concerned because they have to be by 4 p.m. as of today. But it is funny that they have not released it yet. So I don't really have a question as far as this is concerned because it's still so much in the air. But as we sit with this, mess of a roster right now, how do you guys feel? And is there anything specifically you want to point out in the positive or negative as far as maybe how this roster could be being constructed right now?
Overall, it looked good to me.
Yeah. I'll say Cooper McDonald, for a lot of people who didn't go to training camp, he flashed a lot
frequently.
Up there frequently, made a lot of great plays. So I understand why he definitely made the roster.
I'm glad we called that. We said that a while ago, so I'm glad it came to fruition.
Yeah. So for him to be a guy that just showed up for a tryout and
make the
team is amazing, man.
Shout out to him. That's what's up.
Yeah, almost reminds me of when Christian Roland Wallace did it last year.
At a USC,
made some plays and was able to make the roster and really flash or whatever. But overall, I'm content with where the roster is at this point in time. I think that there were some guys that was released. There was some weight that needed to be cut. They got cut.
Oh boy. You've been waiting on this day. Go on yourself.
DG, are you talking about anybody in this?
There's
somebody like
there's a particular running back slash fullback. A lot of fan favorites.
Does he happen to have blonde hair?
Does he like reptiles? Is he fond of them? Maybe.
Yeah, he might. No, man. I really do want to say, I think Carson Steele is a great guy. I have nothing against Carson Steele personally, whatever. I just really didn't see his role on this team, especially going into this year. Last year, maybe he made a little bit of sense of where the running back room was last year, but this year I just really didn't see how he fit with his team. I wish him all the best. I hope that he lands somewhere. I really think that he will land somewhere with another team or whatever. I just don't see the fit for him being in this organization right now at this point in time. So nothing personally against him or anything like that. Just sometimes it's the nature of business, man. Sorry, somebody's got to go. Sayonara.
If when the roster finally, if and when it does finally drop, fellas, I think the next name we see that off this list that may go, I think Elijah Mitchell is the obvious one for me.
Yeah.
I don't see too much benefit for his. If we said that Mike Edwards was over the hill as far as athleticism, didn't really see much from a camp standpoint or in-game standpoint reps from Elijah Mitchell. So I think he's the next guy to go for me.
Yeah. I certainly agree as far as that's concerned. And look, I still got a kind of an orange bubble guy thing as far as Elijah Mitchell and Malik Herring. And Herring really went on after Mike Edwards went off and moved Christian Wallace over to that safety position. So this is very fluid. And for those that may not know, the reason why, generally speaking, the Chiefs like to keep their cards close to the chest as far as this is concerned is they think it provides them a little bit of an advantage in being able to go throughout the process. Now, look, the NFL teams in the front offices know who got cut. So it's not like they're keeping people on the roster that away from other teams. It's more so that other teams don't know where the Chiefs are going to be targeting players. But, looking at this again, fourth running back, still could add to the linebacker room. I don't think 6 linebackers is untenable. I think 7 is insane. You could still add to the edge room. And I tweeted about it earlier. Like Zadarius Smith has fairly had a few teams check in on him and a few contending teams specifically. If that happens for the Chiefs, I think that would be great. Yeah, I think that would be an awesome addition as well. And outside of that, I don't think there's really other places to add. DB, running back, sniff around linebacker, then edge rusher specifically. The other thing I did want to mention, we can talk about a little bit as far as the targets around the league here. A few guys ended up getting released today that kind of caught my eye. I'll certainly mention Damian Martinez, running back out of Miami, that was in a tough room as far as the Seattle Seahawks are concerned. I already got 2 really good backs there. Got a few guys that they like as well. I think Damian Martinez would be an upgrade over Elijah Mitchell or Carson Steele for that matter. It would be a worthwhile fourth running back to add to the roster. So that could make a lot of sense. He was one of the running backs that I liked on day 3 coming out of the draft too. We'll see if the Chiefs sniff around him. DG, CJ, DG, I'll get you in a second. CJ, I'm going to tee you up for this one. Your linebacker 2 in the class actually got released today, Chris Paul Jr. From the Rams. Sean Dolak, for those who do not know, was a UDFA out of Buffalo. Appears to really have taken his job. It appears to have that, but Chris Paul Jr., extremely athletic linebacker at Ole Miss. I'll let you talk about him and if you're interested in bringing him onto this roster.
No, absolutely. I was very shocked to hear that news today because I thought as much as any position the Rams have struggled with to not recruit, but to evaluate and sign, linebacker's been one of the rooms they needed a lot of improvement. So I see why they drafted CP3. And the fact that he got cut, I was very shocked to see that tweet today. So I'm all for it, bring him in the room. Athleticism and speed is one of the things we've been lacking in this room. That's why a lot of us mocked him to come to the Chiefs, along with obviously Jack from Oklahoma, along with obviously Jeffrey Bassa and plenty of other linebackers like Carson Schwarzenegger, plenty of linebackers who had speed and athleticism. He was one of the guys that was very high on my board during the draft process. So if we're able to grab him and stash him on the practice squad, I would be all for that. So whenever we do decide to move on from guys like Drew Tranquil in years to come, that'll be an amazing trio to have of Nick, Jeff Bassa, and Chris Paul Jr. That would be speed and athleticism everywhere along to help Nick Bolton in coverage as well. So I think that'd be a great addition to the room, especially given his age and his athleticism.
Yeah, absolutely. And Richard in the chat mentions obviously Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders, today. Yep. Another guy that we did have our eyes on as far as the day 3 of the draft is concerned. DG, any thoughts on any guys that you saw end up getting released today that kind of caught your eye?
I did see Isaiah Simmons get released from the Packers. I wouldn't be mad about maybe bringing him in just to see what they flip either him or Chris Paul Jr. would be mad at. Trying to think of who else I've seen out there. Oh, Kobe Bryant got released.
Yeah,
but
that was a shocker.
I would assume that he's probably going to end up on the Falcons practice squad. I
if he makes it through waivers.
Yeah, I think that's more of a move that they will probably like to have him back. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in bringing him in. Cody Schrader.
That's not a bad one.
Be bad at that either.
Not a bad one.
As far as running backs, Damian Martinez, I would love to take a flyer on. There were a lot of Chiefs fans who were upset just a couple days ago about us not drafting a running back. at a certain point in time, and a guy that they were talking about got released today. Interesting.
Possibilities. You never know.
So you're telling me maybe these teams know something about these guys that you don't know.
There's value. There's always value in certain guys.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people put a lot of stock sometime into the draft, especially in the later rounds. And I tell people all the time, when you're drafting in later rounds, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. You're hoping that something, hits at that point in time. I know people have seen, well, that's when Brett Veach does his best work. And yes, he's been able to do his best work in those later rounds or whatever. But that doesn't always mean
not 100% here.
Yeah, the player you're taking is gonna hit at that point in time. So, you
want to have a 70% hit rate.
Yeah, you have to err with caution. I know a lot of people are upset about the running back position and how that kind of swayed in this last draft class or whatever. A lot of people saying how much depth this draft class had, but I think after kind of RJ Harvey, the class kind of fell off. And a lot of people, I think the experts seen that. And that's probably why you ended up drafting a running back in what you want. So, those are a couple guys that I like that are sitting out there at this point in time. And we'll see what Brett Veach and them want to do.
Yeah, Richard also mentions obviously Jalen Mills, who was a guy that also caught my eye. I think it makes a lot of sense to be able to bring him in because he does have that free safety versatility.
He's still playing football, man.
Yeah, Jalen Mills is in fact still playing football. But yeah, I think it would actually make sense to be able to bring him in as well. And then Richard did mention Cody Schrager got released as far as Mizzou guys. Theo Reese also got released from the Miami Dolphins. Those are guys that you would hope end up not reverting, but end up going back to their practice squad too. Along those lines, I don't think there was anybody else that really caught my eye as far as guys that got released. I definitely agree with you as far as Kobe Bryant is concerned. Like, I do think that he has the opportunity to kind of help out, in any type of room. I always liked his ball skills. He's just a little bit, kind of undersized in that standpoint. But no one else, I would say, even really big time caught my eye as far as guys that the Chiefs should be targeting. But again, Brett Veach is going to obviously be sniffing around to see what ends up happening as well. I don't think there was anything major as far as the Falcons lost their right tackle as far as injury news, but
dang,
that does need to be unfortunately mentioned. Some guys that end up starting on IR, but no one really as far as pertaining to the Chiefs in that aspect as well. But yeah, so I will say the Patriots did release Cole Strange, who was their number one pick or first round pick in the 2020.
Who?
Well, that's what everybody was saying when they ended up taking Cole Strange.
I got to talk to Jude about this one because he was capable of Cole Strange board.
Yeah, that one didn't end up going well. It's a lesson. Like, usually there are consensus boards for a reason, and going against consensus is a very tough thing to get right. And obviously, that was not something that the Patriots got right. As Cole Strange never really kind of got that done. So, all that being said, the other thing that I did want to mention, we did have a few things kind of coming off of the preseason week 3 that I thought were interesting. The one thing that I'll mention specifically, just the usage of Brashard Smith. I thought the fact that they continued to emphasize him within the running back room, specifically catching the ball out of that backfield, was extremely nice to see. And then obviously we saw the explosive plays, specifically Tyquan Thornton down the field as the X wide receiver. So I'll ask you guys, because we technically haven't been able to just talk about this amongst ourselves. How do you guys feel about the first string for the offense and defense, really, coming off of that Seattle Seahawks preseason game?
Offensively, I think we're in a great place. I know, ironically, DMac said earlier, we've all been subject to tweeting this is be one of the deepest receiver rooms that Pat's had in the last couple of years. We've all said that or tweeted that at least once or twice. I'm telling Chiefs Kingdom, in 2025, we really mean it this time. That was different. That was different the last 2 years. This year, I truly will back this statement. When you have guys like Rashee Rice, who we know will play for the Chiefs this year in some way, shape, or form. You have Xavier Worthy going into his sophomore year, who's due for another big year. Hollywood Brown is back. Juju is back. Tyquan Thornton has showed value to this team. I truly think this is the best place. And we have a fox in the hole with Jalen Royals. We're in the best place from a receiver standpoint since 2021 with the group of Sammy Watkins, D-Rob, and Tyreek. I think as an overall talent standpoint, we're in a good place this year going forward. We have multiple guys who can make plays for you, multiple guys. Like we said this on our show when we did Kingdom Cast with the whole crew. We're kind of too deep at every spot. You have two guys who can play X. You have two guys who can play Z, two guys who can play slot. You're kind of double trouble at every position. When you have multiple guys to go through, there's no over workload for any player. Everybody can come into the week. They know what their role is, what my spot is in this week in the game plan, and I can go out there and execute. So I think this is a good group for Pat to go out there and have another great year, a bounce back year in his regard for the last 2 years based off production. But I think we're in a good place based off the big question mark as long as can we protect him. And so far, so good from Josh Simmons. He's looked like the All-American, All-Pro player we expect him to be from camp to preseason. Obviously, we want to see it come to fruition during the season. I think from a protection standpoint, he's in a good place. But receiver-wise, weapon-wise, we know that's kind of been the thing holding us back the last few years with the drops in 2023, and then we had the injuries in 2024. So I think we're getting back to that point where we have depth at those positions. So I think we're in a good place. Obviously, like I said, 2 running backs as well. Kareem, and I actually laughed about this, DG, with DMac on the Kingdom Cast show. This time last year, we knew Jet wasn't coming back, right, because he had retired. I was saying it, and I think DG heard me in camp, why don't we just sign Kareem? He's sitting at home. Like, Cleveland didn't bring him back. And ironically, we signed him after Pop got hurt, which I thought was funny because I'm like, he should have already been on the roster in the first place. So now, obviously, 365 days later, Kareem is back on the Chiefs, and now him and Pacheco get to start training camp together and start week 1 together as well. So I think that'll be a good combo as well for them guys. And obviously, Brashard will be to learn from them and learn protections even more so on third down. Can we see how effective he can be in the passing game, like DMac showed earlier in our clips in our different shows. So I think overall we're in a good place, man. I think the biggest question overall coming into the season, it still stands now after camp, after training camp, after the 53s. It's just protection. Can we protect 15? If we can do that, then we'll be in a good place.
Yeah, I think offensively they're in a really good spot, especially after what I watched on last Friday against the Bears. I know we try not to put too much stock into preseason and things of that nature, not get too hyped up on some of those snaps. But man, some of the pockets that offensive line was providing for Patrick Mahomes was
so good.
I was like, if this offensive line plays like this,
they look fun.
I don't know if
there's
too many defenses in this league that can stop this team, especially with in the passing game and in the run game. It looks like this offensive line might be one of the top units in the league, especially what Josh Simmons has been able to provide at that left tackle position. He's been extremely impressive, man.
Josh been good.
I know we obviously had our doubts when we draft him. Like I said, it's never about his talent, just about if he can stay healthy. And if he stays healthy and is able to provide this for you,
Stonewall.
the team can cook. So yeah. Some of the snaps that I see, man, he didn't look like a rookie. I'm sorry. Like I know maybe I'm getting a little maybe too excited,
getting a little delulu.
Yeah, but he just, from what I've seen, the mechanics, how he sets his anchor, how patient he is with his hands, how forceful he is with his hands at points and times too. It was just too many good things that I seen, and he doesn't look scary. He looks very confident out there. It looks like he knows what he's doing at this point in time. The lights don't look too bright for him, man. If that's the case, I think the league's in trouble. Like, I don't want to sound cocky on that, because I want to err with a little bit of caution, just because we don't fully know what it's going to look like in real live regular season game action.
So far, so good.
But so far, man, what else can you say?
Could be the steal of the draft.
Yeah, could possibly. It's scary that you were able to get him at the back end of the first round. Because to me, man, he looks like he should have been the first tackle taken, like the top 5, top 10. And I love Kelce Jr., dog. Like, that's my guy. But yeah, even Kevin Max Jr. didn't look this good.
He can knock the ball with force and power. The only thing I critique about would be his punch. And I think kind of the little guys like Mitch and Jeff Allen has said that on the TLDG, but his feet, he moves his puppies, man. That's the biggest thing for any lineman. He moves his feet very well. Yeah. And we saw that from the reps we saw in practice. So I'm like, he's transitioning to the game, man. It's looking good, man. There's no reason to not be hyped. This hype is warranted. No disrespect to Kingsley from last year, but 365 days a year ago, this hype is very much warranted for sure.
Only thing this season I'm really worried about him at this point is just keeping the presence of that pocket, and having a presence of mind to be able to do that. As long as he can do that for us, like I've been telling people, Mahomes to me doesn't need all pro tackle play. I mean, it'd be nice, but as long as you provide him with comparable tackle play in order for him to get the ball out of his hands in a fast and quick way, I think he'll be fine. And he can obviously move this team down the field. So,
give me that.
I love that play. I hope that's incorporated a lot more this year. I know that's something that's a little bit new, or not used to seeing in Andy Reid's offense, that back shoulder fade. But I think them having Rasheed in this offense healthy is something that they'll obviously try to exploit this year. So yeah, man, look. That last preseason game, I loved everything that I seen from the offense. There was nothing, no question marks or anything for me. If that offense shows up in Sao Paulo, Brazil, the Chargers are in trouble.
Facts.
Yeah, I'm like you guys talked about. I mean, obviously the pockets that you see kind of provided here, because of how well the entire offensive line played. Obviously, the highlights are going to be about Josh Simmons and what Kingsley Suamataia was able to improve upon as well. But just giving Patrick Mahomes time to continue to cook is the massive piece of it, man. And the ability to continue to sit there and pick apart the defense is a big thing. And I know that everybody, and I don't know how 467 of these people are Chiefs fans, but I assume the majority of them. You've seen everybody on the timeline swear to you up and down that Patrick Mahomes apparently forgot how to play football in the last 2 years, when I promise you that's not the case. If he has this type of pocket, people will remind you very quickly about what happens. And obviously, even you saw some of the reactions to the preseason game that people were like, oh, no, Patrick Mahomes actually is still the best quarterback in the National Football League. So, yeah, I mean, that had to be your major takeaway just watching the game. I thought the usage of Robert Tonyan, as we'll see in this 13 personnel set as well, I think the fact that he was out there was in a sign that they, again, continue to have multiple tight ends that can go out there and catch the ball all up and down for those guys, which we assume Jared Wiley is also going to be on the roster too. I thought that Isaiah Pacheco looked spry, which is really nice to see. As far as that aspect is concerned. And the big thing is the entirety of this offense looked this good, and Hollywood Brown and Jalen Royals from that aspect also did not play. So I'm excited to see what this offense brings to the table. As far as the defense, I thought they played fine. I thought you saw a little bit better complementary pass rush, still not to the level that I would like to see it. And again, it can't necessarily happen maybe as far as the weight loss is concerned, but I hope they can re-emphasize using Omar Norman to be an interior disruptor as well. Ashton Nnadi was flying around there against the 2s and 3s, which was nice to see as well. Still, I think that the sound nature of the back end of this football team is going to be the thing that really carries them over. So all that being said, obviously that was kind of our takes coming out of the preseason week 3. Just to wrap this up, I think that's important to remind people. We actually will be previewing a game for the first time.
Boy, oh boy.
In 2025. I'm so excited. Next week, obviously, Chiefs are going to open the season on Friday. We'll be back here on Tuesday to preview the game in Sao Paulo, Brazil, primetime matchup, YouTube TV,
Brazil,
against those Los Angeles Chargers. So I just wanted to ask you guys real quick. Number one thing that you're excited to talk about as we look forward to previewing this game.
Everything.
We got football. It's the real deal, man. The regular season, is upon us, man. I'm excited for the opportunity to showcase what this team can do on an international stage again. I'm glad that it's happening early on in the season versus later on in the season.
Get it out the way.
Go ahead and get it out the way. And I hope the fans in Brazil are excited, man, for a great game. This is two historic rival teams going up against each other. So it should be a good one, man. You know,
Every time we play the Chargers, always good football. So fans gonna love YouTube. So whole world's gonna get to see it. We always put on a show whenever we play the broken phone Chargers. So I'm excited to go out there. Obviously, it's week 1, and we usually, when you give Andy Reid time to game plan and retool, he usually comes out and shows well. So this has probably been one of the longest off seasons, given the fact that 2 previous years we were celebrating and trying to recover and get back to trying to build a dynasty, and now that we're here now and we kind of been at the top of the mountain, and then we know what it feels like to get knocked down. So I think, like Chris said it in the Kingdom show, that you got to go out there and let this be your fuel to go out there and be better for next year. Remember this moment, and this is everything. So I think the guys are more than ready, like the fellas have said. So I'm more than excited. If we're excited, I know that the guys are 10 times more excited and ready to get out there. So can't wait to see them get on the plane and make it to Brazil safely, and let's go out there and get a W.
Well, look at that. We have stayed long enough for them to release this damn roster.
Look it up. Look it up.
Oh, let's
Let's go, Beach.
That one caught me off guard. Okay, we're gonna react to this in real time because I haven't even looked at this. The Chiefs have announced roster moves going into the National Football League season. Thank you, Chiefs. I will not subscribe to your notifications because I know everything already. Let's see. Following players on reserve injured: Jake Brunstool, not a surprise. We did say that could possibly happen given the amount of time that he missed. Brandon George and Nnadi Johnson. There is no designation specifically about return or not return. Yeah. If you had to ask me and to guess, I think that Jake and Nnadi will probably end up being the 2 designated to return guys, and Brandon George would not. We'll see if that ends up happening. Yeah. Kansas City Chiefs replaced fallen player on reserve NFI. Ethan Driscoll really did not participate in camp, and they kept him all last year on the roster to make sure that they would be able to protect him. No surprise that they wanted to keep him. Have waived the following players. So these are the guys that, some of the guys, at least headliners, that they hope.
Not Elijah. No.
Elijah Badger. Elijah Badger was a little bit expected. Didn't think that he was going to make it through cut down day. He's been waived, a guy that we all hope obviously comes back to the roster. Owen Carney, Dalton Cooper, I'm just going to roll through. Magdalena actually made a few plays. Chu Godric, who was said earlier to be released with the International Player Program. If he can come back, then he'll be counting as still the International Player Program designee, and he'll be back as a 17th member of the 16-man practice squad spot. CJ Henson, as we already discussed, Jimmy Holiday, Kozai Izard, Cam Jones. We thought to be possibly in the linebacker mix. Kevin Knowles, who showed some things as far as DB room is concerned. Fabian Lovett, also interior defensive lineman after Nnadi got released. No surprise there. Chris Logan, who actually had a funny tweet about golf today. Esapoli, as we also discussed as well. Carson Steele, as we discussed. Major Williams, Bailey Zappi, Michael Wiley. So I'll say no real big-time surprises outside of obviously what we've already discussed with Esapoli being let go there. And then they said that they have released outright these players. Cole Christensen, Mike Edwards,
Big Bob,
Robert Tulopo. So now that is the list that ultimately made
Bob and Mike. Wow.
So I think that this is, again, Brad Veach trying to manipulate things to get certain players on the roster, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if they had, I want to be clear about this before I say this to make sure that it's clear. If they had released these guys and got down to 53-man roster, then they technically could put more than the 2 IR candidates on the roster and designate them to return that we had talked about earlier between George, Brenningstool, and Nnadi Johnson. If they had released these guys to get down to 53-man, then they could have a limited IR, to return spots. So there's a possibility that some of these guys are in service of that. It's a possibility that some of these guys are in service so that they can make waiver claims and get guys back. I will tell you guys this flat out. I expect both Mike Pennell and Robert Tonyan to be back on this roster. In the active 53-man roster.
Absolutely.
Marlon Tuilopo, I do expect to come back on the practice squad. We'll see about Cole Christensen and Mike Edwards. Mike Edwards also has a chance to be a veteran as well from that standpoint. I think that is it. So, yeah. So, obviously, Mike Pennell being released, Robert Tonyan being released will be the major headliners as far as that is concerned.
That is not a rumor. Jason Brownlee has made the 53.
Let's go, JB.
There's another aspect of being able to release some of these veterans is to keep guys that you may have lost otherwise. Jason Brownlee was somebody that obviously caught the opening touchdown in the Cardinals game from Patrick Mahomes on the back shoulder fade. Somebody that maybe they did not want to subject to waivers ultimately and get him to that 53-man roster. probably a guy that ultimately maybe gets placed on, on the practice squad later on. But we'll see as far as that is concerned. So as of today, the Chiefs currently have 8 wide receivers on the active roster right now. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Royals, Tyquan Thornton, Nico Remigio, and Jason Brownlee. So just
4 running backs as well too.
Yes, and that's a good thing to point out as well. Elijah Mitchell currently on the active roster as well. He would not have been subject to vested to waivers as he is a vested vet as well. So could have been a possibility that he would have stayed on. Of course, he is not. So he is on the 53-man roster as well. I'm looking over this list right now. I did not see a Malik Herring release. So Malik Herring has made the roster as well, it appears, as far as the edge room is concerned.
Yeah, Malik Herring is on. Yes, he did make the roster.
Did somebody tweet out the roster? Because I can pull that up if so.
Chiefs just brought up everybody on their app. That's what I'm reading off of.
Oh, okay. They have it. Okay, got it. Man, eight wide receivers is something. Oh, okay, Matt McMillan actually just tweeted out, so we can take a look at that.
Him and Charles just tweeted it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, some interesting names on it. But Jason Brownlee, I did not expect. I kind of expected him to be maybe a practice squad candidate for them, but for him to make the roster,
he made an impression, but it must have been bigger than Malik.
Well, I mean, it certainly was as far as a touchdown, at least. So let's go through the initial 53-man roster. Quarterbacks, Mahomes, Minshew, no surprise there. Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, Isaiah Pacheco, and Brashard Smith make the running back room. A little bit of surprise Elijah Mitchell stuck around, but I will say he did show a little bit as far as the last preseason game was concerned. Wide receivers, like we said, 8 guys, which is crazy to say. Hollywood Brown, Jason Brownlee, Nico Remigio, Rashee Rice, Jalen Royals, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, and Xavier Worthy. I think that's a little bit indicative of the fact that the Chiefs have some real I'm trying to find this the right way to say uncertainty with some of these guys. Obviously, Hollywood Brown is missed time. He did not end up playing in any of the preseason games. Jalen Royals has been out the last week or so with an injury, a knee injury specifically. And obviously, Rashee Rice still has the suspension aspect of this looming over his head. That could be settled any day in between now and that September 30th hearing that is scheduled too. Tight end, Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, Jared Wiley. Again, a little bit of surprise that Robert Tonyan didn't get released. He is a vested veteran, so he's not subject to waivers. So he, of course, can come back by the practice squad or onto the active roster at any time. I expect him to. Offensive line-wise, Mike Caliendo, Creed Humphrey, Jalen Moore, Wanye Morris, Hunter Norzad, Jawan Taylor, Josh Simmons, Trey Smith, and Kingsley Suamataia. Again, no significant surprises there, but the fact that they were willing to subject Isapole to waivers when they could have kept him and just release a guy like Elijah Mitchell, a little bit surprising to me. That's a heck of a gamble from Beach, and I hope he ends up, winning it. But that is one heck of a gamble in my personal opinion. Defensive line-wise, Mike Dana, Ashton Jalati, Malik Herring, Chris Jones, George Galoptis, Derrick Nnadi, Omar Norman-Lott, Charles Omenihu, and Jared Tillery make the defensive line room. Surprised, I guess, supposed to keep Malik Herring there, but outside of that, nothing really headlining. 6 linebackers, Jeffrey Bassett, Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, Jack Cochran did make the roster, Cooper McDonald, and Drew Tranquil. I didn't need Jack Cochran on this team, but Dave Tope loves him.
Yeah, he's a Tope guy.
Spags like him too.
Yeah.
See, I don't need Spags to like him.
Oh, we know. We know the truth.
But yes, defensive back wise, Shamar Connor, Brian Cook, Christian Fulton, Jaden Hicks, Trent McDuffie, Chris Wallace, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams makes the list. Noah Williams, no surprise is there. Maybe a little bit Joshua Williams. There was a lot of talk about if Joshua Williams was going to end up making this roster, given the fact that he's not the guy that they love on special teams, but he does end up making a roster for cornerback depth, which if you're going to rely a little bit upon Chris Wallace to play a little bit more safety, I think that does make some sense as well from that aspect. And then specialists are Matt Ariza, who won the punter job, Harrison Bucker, and James Winchester. That was a lot to go over. So now that we actually have the 53-man roster, I mean, the thing that stands out to me is I think that there was an opportunity to keep Isapole, in my personal opinion, over a guy like Jack Cochran or, a guy that you can always bring back.
That's your guy.
I know it's my guy, and I'm going to continue to say it, but I really do believe in his upside in the National Football League. So that would be the thing that stands out most to me. as far as you guys in initial reaction to this roster, how do you guys kind of think about it?
Yeah, I'm not too. I don't have too many negatives about it. I mean, there's some guys that like surprisingly made it to me, in my opinion. Jason Brownlee, for him to kind of go for a guy like I said that was gonna, I thought ultimately was gonna be a practice squad guy. Making the 53 show that he really impressed, man. But I'm excited for it. You know, it gives you a bigger target kind of in your receiver room. You can throw some of those back shoulder fades that hopefully Andy Reid is willing to incorporate into some red zone packages this year. We obviously seen that Mahomes has been able to handle some of those throws as well too. Jack Conklin to me could have been left off this list but obviously Dave Tobe is going to get his guys. Josh Williams was another guy that I thought was going to be on the bubble. As far as I didn't think they would cut him, but I thought he'd be a trade candidate for them to get some kind of compensation out of him. But obviously, I think with the injury to Nnadi Johnson is one of the main reasons why they decided to probably keep Josh here, him being able to know the defense and being able to contribute to special teams as well. So, but yeah, I'm not too shocked about it. I mean, Patrick Mahomes made the 53. That's shocking. But not too shocked about it at all. So, hopefully these guys are ready to play and ready to head off to Brazil.
Overall, no, I love the group. 8 receivers is definitely a shocker. I thought 7 max was the number, but to see JB make the roster, like DG said, that's been one of our guys we've been watching in camp. He was making a lot of plays, not only that catch by a lot of fans who obviously weren't able to go to training camp daily like me and DG were. We saw JB make a lot of plays, not only just that play. He made a lot of big catches in the red zone and one-on-ones and 7-on-7, 11-on-11 period. He's made a lot of flashes. And obviously, a lot of us who are nerds have watched him play with the Jets. We watched him in college. He's been a big target, a guy that has like a big catchphrase. So he's been able to flash a lot of times on film. So this isn't the first time we've seen him, but the world is getting to know his name now on the stage, being able to play with the Chiefs. So definitely proud of him. Definitely glad to see him get his opportunity because it could definitely be an asset for this group, especially in the red zone, like back shoulders, like DG said. The shocker for me would definitely be Elijah Mitchell. He can play. He's a veteran. He's been in the league a while. Nothing bad with having him on the roster. I just didn't see the value of, like DMac said earlier, of letting like Esapole walk other guys. I would have rather kept them than Elijah Mitchell at this point in his career. Respectfully, nothing wrong with Elijah, but it's just there's just so much other value, especially with all the running backs we just named on guys that have been released in the last 24 hours. There's so many other guys you could have brought back. So I don't hate Elijah, just some other positions I would have liked to see. Can you scroll down a little bit, DMac, for the defense?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. What do you want? You want the DBs? You want?
Yeah, DBs, please.
Okay.
As far as the DB group, definitely praise up to Nas. Hopefully he can get back. Hopefully it's just a short stint on IR. Definitely want to see him come back ASAP and be healthy. As far as the other group, definitely good to see Christian Fulton, like we said last week, to see him get out there and get live reps and to see an extension play time in the Bears game to get his win back up. Christian Wallace, I think, is another sleeper for us. I'm glad to see him go out there and be an easy, obvious guy to keep on the roster. And then, Josh Williams made the roster. I know me and probably DMac has been the hardest on him in camp. I thought that was a guy that possibly could have been a trade guy or a guy that probably was in jeopardy of not making the team. So to see him be here in this situation, definitely got to take advantage of it and go out there and ball out with your opportunities. But overall, I love the group. I love everybody here. I think this is a good place now to have some versatility with CRW who can play different spots. And I think Jayden's in line for a big year, like we said earlier. Definitely was kind of shocked to see Jack Cochran make the roster. I definitely thought that was a Cooper McDonald spot, definitely based off the way he played. But we know Tobe usually gets a guy on the roster. And I know we've been kind of joking with a lot of people on Twitter who didn't think Nico or Migio offered any value to the team, but we all know Tobe usually gets a guy on the roster, and you could probably add Jack Cochran to that list as well. So overall, I think the roster looks good. A couple question marks, like we said, but no big moves for me. Just waiting to see, obviously, Mike Pennell, Robert Tonyan, probably backdoor deals. Guys are doing handshakes like, hey, we'll move on. Obviously, we want you to be back here. Don't pick up the phone for nobody but us. But overall, I like the roster. I think it's in a good place for sure.
All right. Well, look, this was funny. We were getting ready, obviously, to wind down, and all of a sudden they hit us with a roster, which is funny. Again, do keep tabs because I think that we will see a lot of movement as far as this roster is. DG, you good?
Yeah, am I back?
Yeah, you're here.
You back? You back?
My Wi-Fi just went stupid.
Just dropped out. Yeah, I think we are going to see a lot of movement as far as this is concerned, though. So I'm interested to see where things go as far as this roster. Obviously, the reality situation is Brett Veach is going to be working the phones, working the waiver wire to see where some of these things end up landing as well. Another thing I was going to try and point out real quick. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to. But yeah, a lot of moves to left to be made. See if some trades happen as well. DG, CJ, anything before we go ahead and get on out of here, man?
Nope, nothing for me.
See y'all next week, man. Ready for the season to kick off. And we got real football coming up.
Got real ball.
Now you're talking about real football. I'm looking forward to it, man. But yeah, for DG, CJ, I'm DMac, man. Peace out. Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.